Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher, and today we're talking about the 4 best ways to keep D&D session notes. We all know that running awesome campaigns also comes with remembering the awesome stuff that happened in the last session, and unfortunately, it can be very easy to start forgetting things if you don't keep great notes. Great notes are a cornerstone to a campaign that makes sense, maintains immersion, and is basically consistent throughout the whole thing without important things getting dropped, forgotten about, etc. But how do you do it? Well, I have 4 techniques that I've used for this. I'm going to share them all for you. The 4th one is the one I use today. It's my favorite method, and I think it is actually the #1 best method, but any 4 of these will work, so let's dive right into it. Now, the first option on my list is pretty easy, and most GMs probably start out here. You write down your own notes. You can write them down either while you're playing, or you can write them down after the session, or more commonly, you might keep very brief bullet point notes during the session because you're probably busy with other things, and then you come back later and you flesh them out and really write them in fully. The good thing about this is that it gives the GM time to reflect, and the GM also maybe knows details for the session notes that the players may not even know. And due to this, the GM can even create 2 sets of notes. They can create a set of notes for the players and one for themselves so that they can remember GM details. The downside to this is that you still might forget things, and running a game takes a lot of time and energy. You may not always have time to write everything down as you're playing, and coming back to it later might be inconvenient. You might even need to put it off for a day or two, and by then you might have forgotten more details. So for this reason, this method, while it has gotten me good results, it's not really my favorite method, but it is a default method that you can start with and see if it works for you. With that being said, let's move on to method number 2, record your session. You can do this with a portable recorder. You can get your laptop and record with some basic audio recording software. You can stick a microphone in the middle of the table. You could even use your phone to do this. Personally, like way back in the day, I used to actually record my sessions for some campaigns on a cassette recorder, like a cassette tape recorder, and then I would listen to them back. The upside to this is that you will capture pretty much every detail as long as you capture the audio good enough to hear the details. The downside to this is that going back through all of that audio to compile your notes can be labor intensive. Now, there are AI tools nowadays that can make this a lot easier. For example, you could use like Otter AI to create a transcription. You could put that transcription through Chat GPT to make yourself like a major summary. And while the AI may not necessarily capture everything, when you get this list, you could at least probably be caught up enough on the details to be able to fill in the blanks yourself, or maybe adjust the things that were not quite taken in correctly by the AI. So all things considered, this does require a little bit of equipment, and it's not a terrible way to go. It's very accurate because you can always default back to your base recordings, but it can be labor intensive to actually get notes that are usable rather than just pages and pages and pages of dialogue recordings that you may not have time to sort through. So for this reason, this is my second option. It's not terrible. It's not my favorite. These last 2 options are really my favorite ones. Number 3 is my second favorite, and number 4 is my very favorite. But before we jump into this, if you would, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. I'm here every day creating content about the best game in the world, D&D. Well, I'm here almost every day. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment. Let me know your answer. How do you keep your session notes? I'd love to hear about it in the comments and when you interact with my videos. It helps to show my videos to more people. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the help. With that being said, let's move on to number 3. Ask the group to contribute to notes. Make it a group effort. Now, asking everyone to keep notes regarding their players will cover a lot of the bases for note taking for the session. This will help you to fill in a lot of gaps, and then you can even keep some bullet notes, and you can compile everyone's notes at the end of the session and basically prepare them, make them available, either put them on your group messenger board or hand out the handouts or whatever you do with your notes to help your players stay up to date. Nowadays, there are tools like Google Docs that will allow everyone to basically use their phones, and they can go into the same Google Docs, so you can even keep things in a kind of a chronological order, and they can just fill in notes as they role play, as their characters do things. They can take their notes on events that are happening, and everyone else can contribute their notes. And so this can make it very streamlined. The downside to this is that sometimes it's hard to get players to do this and contribute. And while players are busy role playing, it can be difficult for them to get the time to stop and do this. Not all the time, but this does ask sort of like for a commitment from the players to do a bit of work. This might also be a real big challenge and a big thing to ask for from players who do not consider themselves writers or note takers. And so, sometimes at a game table, you might have people who love to write, but then you might have people who do not really like to. And doing so may make them feel self-conscious and they'll feel like their notes won't be good. And so that can be a big mental hurdle for them. And so for that reason, number 3, the group contributing to note taking is actually way more efficient than the GM doing it themselves. And to be really honest, I find the ease of use of this with everyone kind of contributing a little bit much better in the labor intensiveness department. I think it's better than recording the session unless you have the time and equipment to record the session and have it not be, kind of a time suck for you. With that being said, I do not think it is the best way to do it. It is my second favorite way, having the group work together. But my favorite way, we're going to talk about in just a moment. Before we jump into that, I just want to let you know you can download my Ultimate Plot Randomizer. The link is in the description. Join my email list. First email you get will have this free ebook in it. It's packed with 4 D100 tables. It'll let you roll random plot arcs on the fly, print it out, put it in your stuff. It's awesome. Secondly, I have a Discord channel. Find the link in the description. Come join my Discord. Hang out with a bunch of GMs who are doing cool stuff. We even play games on Friday nights. It's pretty awesome. So jump in and join the fun. With that being said, let's move on to the best way, my favorite way to take notes, and that is to appoint a dedicated note taker. Your group probably has at least one very talented writer who enjoys writing things, who believes in capturing the coolness of D&D as it is unfolding. And this person probably would make a great candidate for being an appointed note taker. I have an appointed note taker at my table. One of my players keeps really amazing notes in a Google Doc. And we have a single Google Doc that has basically notes for all of our sessions in it. We number the sessions, we label them with a title, and then our note taker, he basically records notes the whole session. And it's actually pretty amazing how he manages to role play and take notes at the same time. He does an excellent job at this. With that being said, it is a big job. And he is a good note taker who is able to take notes quickly and concisely. This would require you to have someone at your table with these types of skills or someone willing to put in that much work, because he actually puts in quite a bit of work every session to make this happen. In return, he does get an inspiration every single session, and every 3 or so sessions, he gets a magic item as a reward for these services. With that being said, this is by far the best note-taking situation I've ever had in a D&D game. The notes that we get by appointing a talented and dedicated note taker are just far superior to any other notes I've ever gotten in any other form or fashion. And it is very easy for me as a GM because he literally does all the work. The downside to it is that he does have to do quite a bit of work to do that. I am lucky that he's willing to do that. And so I'm very thankful for that, but not every group may have someone who's willing to do that. So they may want to default back to one of the 3 methods we've talked about previously. With that being said, this has been my favorite way to get amazing notes for my sessions, and it has resulted in the best notes and has been the best working for me as a GM. So for that reason, that's my favorite way to do it, and I would try to do it that way forever in the future. If for some reason I did not end up with someone who fit that role really well, I would probably default to asking the group to contribute, and I would probably record the sessions too. And that way, if the group didn't compile quite good enough notes, then my recordings could act as kind of a default and a fallback. And anyway, that's going to be a wrap. That is, in my opinion, the 4 best ways to keep D&D session notes. I hope you found this useful. Drop me a thumbs up and a comment and hit that subscribe button. And hey, I'm here almost every single day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. And don't forget to join my Discord, link in the description. I will see you awesome people on the next one.